Hey, how's it going guys, Rogue here, and today I'm going to be doing a review on The Walking Dead Season 7, Episode 13, Bury Me Here. So, huge spoiler warning, if you haven't seen this episode, then I would advise you not to watch this video. So, click off now if you haven't seen the actual episode. Alright, so the episode starts off with Ezekiel loading in a watermelon into the back of a van. So, this is obviously, it's supposed to be a sort of recap from later in the episode. So basically, the episode starts off and Carol goes to visit Morgan. So basically, I'm going to try and remember here because obviously I can't really remember it in full scale, so sorry, I'm not a perfectionist, but she basically is not exactly peer pressuring Morgan, but she's telling Morgan, or she's asking him what went down at the sanctuary, where Negan killed the people, Glenn and Abraham, not the people, sorry. So Morgan says he says he's not in the position to tell her what happened because the conversation was between her and Daryl, not them two. He's basically saying it's not his position to talk about stuff that's not anything to do with him. And then the part that cracked me up about this episode, which I did actually I started pissing myself, but this woman came up. I can't remember what her name was now, but she went up to Ezekiel in the top tower and Shiva was there, and she basically went on about how these plants, and I think it was plants, I can't be too sure, but how they were going rotten. It might have been vegetables, I'm not too sure, but how they were going rotten, and if they don't take them out now, then everything will get rotten. And then Ezekiel says to the woman, Ezekiel likes you, and yeah, she says, I'm pissing myself now. So that part did crack me up a little bit. Yeah, it did. Right, and then we get to the part where Benjamin, I believe his name is, I think it is, Benjamin finds this painting in a restaurant and he hands it to Morgan because he thinks Morgan will like it and is a very nice painting. So he thinks Morgan will be interested in it. And then this part where Jerry is eating like a burger or something, a cheeseburger, and he's just scoffing it down as you do. Ezekiel tells him that they have to leave for the meeting with the Saviors, and that's when they head on to go and meet the Saviors. So they start heading down this road, and obviously you see like a roadblock with trolleys, which is obviously meant to slow them down. And then Richard comes over, tells Benjamin that he has to point his gun up. He asks, I can't be too sure what his name is, but the actor is Daniel Newman. He asks him if he's holding the gun properly. He says, yes, you're fine, dude. They head around the corner and they see this dugout grave and it says, bury me here. So, I'll get to that part later in the video. So once they get the roadblock clear, they go to the meeting with the Saviors, and obviously that little fucking long-haired piece of shit is like wielding Morgan's axe. Basically, there's this huge argument because there was supposed to be 12. Was it 12? Hold on. I think it was 12. It was 11 or 12. There was supposed to be 11 or 12 watermelons in there, or grapefruit. It was one of them, and there was one short. So obviously this angered everyone. Basically Ezekiel was saying that he counted them right, and the man was saying no, he obviously didn't, and he was letting him count them again. So basically what happened is Richard, the little bastard Richard, when they got off, when they were on foot, he obviously planted one somewhere because he knew there'd be a consequence for it, He knew there'd be a consequence for, one short. And there was a bad consequence. There was. Basically, so the Saviors wanted Ezekiel, the Kingdom's guns, and as soon as they say that, they pull the guns up. Everyone is just aiming at each other, this is crazy shit. And he says the agreement was not the guns. They can't take their guns away. And then obviously Ezekiel is forced to yield against them because obviously he's not strong enough, is he? Just by himself as a kingdom. They need more people. So he obviously tells them to hand the guns over. I'm not too sure what his name is, but he says there has to be some sort of consequence for being one short. So obviously this rathead cunt pulls out the pistol and aims it at Richard's head. And Richard is basically saying to him, do what, I don't care. You know, because Richard, obviously, he lost his wife and daughter, so he doesn't really care on what happens to him. You know, as long as he's with them in the afterlife, I guess that's all he cares about. If you believe in that sort of stuff, he probably does. That's why he wants to die so bad. But basically, this rat-head bastard just aims the gun at Richard's head for a few seconds, and then he just aims it off camera, cut, transition into black. And obviously he shot Benjamin. He shot Benjamin in the hip area, and Ezekiel was screaming for medical attention because the boy was dying. You know, there was nothing he could do about it, because the saviors wouldn't let him do anything about it. He was basically just holding them at gunpoint, and he wasn't even allowed to give medical attention to Benjamin. But eventually they all rushed to Benjamin's rescue, and obviously they're all in the truck, and Morgan was screaming to Richard, "Get in the van, come on, let's go, let's go." And he was like, "Go on without me." And then we see Carol planting some plants, whatever they are, and obviously the truck pulls up with some members of the kingdom in it. Obviously Ezekiel, Richard, Benjamin, and the other guys, Morgan. And they all rush into Carol's house. I'm not too sure what his name is again, but Daniel Newman, the person who plays him, the actor, he basically like wipes everything off the table. They put Benjamin straight onto that table, and he's basically saying it's alright, you can let go. And then obviously we see a white sheet over Benjamin, like indicating he's dead, obviously, which is very sad because I thought there'd be a lot more to this character. I thought he would, you know, I thought he'd have a better story than this. But you know, his story was cut too short, like a lot of characters on The Walking Dead. And then here we see Morgan have some sort of mental breakdown. Obviously this is a very sad moment. It is just very sad because, you know, you never normally see characters break on The Walking Dead. I mean, you could say like Rick broke on The Walking Dead when he was in the prison, when he was seeing Laurie. But, you know, Morgan just broke down, and it was kind of upsetting really, because obviously he's had to keep all this in his head, you know, trying to get by as normal. But, you know, eventually it all comes out. He can't bottle it up forever. And obviously he keeps seeing all these signs saying "bury me here," and I think it says "please let go," and it says "clear" as well, so referring to all things that's happened in his past. Also one says "just listen." Then he keeps getting flashbacks of Benjamin bleeding out. Then it looks like he's going to cut his wrist, but he doesn't do it. You know, it looked like he was going to end his life because he was going through so much suffering, but he didn't. Then he kicks this bucket, this yellow bucket, and underneath that bucket is the watermelon. And this is where he knows that Richard set all of this up. So next he rushes into Richard's room, and Richard basically tells him about everything that happened. So his whole plan. So that if he hid the watermelon, he knew there'd be a consequence, and Richard wanted to be the one who would die. You know, he thought that he was going to be murdered for it, you know, but he wasn't. So he feels like incredible guilt now. And then basically they have this talk about how he lost his daughter. It's a sad scene, obviously, but I have no sympathy for this character because he's a twat. Honestly, I don't like him. And obviously he got Benjamin killed. I know that wasn't intentional, but he still got him killed at the end of the day. He should not have tried anything funny, not yet anyway, but he did, which is really upsetting. And obviously you see Ezekiel hugging Benjamin's little brother because he's obviously just told him the bad news about his brother passing away or being murdered, which is very upsetting. Then we get back to the scene that we started off with Ezekiel putting the watermelon back in the truck, and obviously they're going to the meeting where they hand off the watermelon. And then we see Morgan picking up his staff and Benjamin's staff. Obviously he walks back over to the group, and here's where the saviors pull up. And then obviously the main guy who is the leader of the saviors, I'm not too sure what his name is, but he asks how the boy is, and like there's just awkward silence, so that obviously means that he's dead. And Trampy Man over here just says to the rat-faced guy that Benjamin calls him Rat-Face, he basically says, "Take a walk now. If you even look at me or say anything to me, I will kill you right here on the spot." So basically this is really interesting what happens here. So Richard goes over to hand the man the watermelon, and obviously from behind Morgan just whacks him over the back of the head and literally gets down on the floor and starts strangling him. So once he's finished strangling him, You know, this man's suffering for life. Eventually, he just can't handle it anymore. He dies. The just reactions all around are just like, they're really shocked and they're really stressed out from what he's done. But obviously Morgan tells them the plan, what his plan was, and they all see why he did it. And I think this is a crucial part in The Walking Dead Season 7, because we're getting Morgan back, the Morgan that we want. You know, the badass Morgan. We're finally getting him. We need this Morgan in the show, because The Walking Dead isn't Walking Dead without Morgan, in my opinion. That's just me. But I think Morgan is such a major character in this, and it's good seeing him go back to his roots. And then here we see Morgan kill Richard as zombie form, obviously. And then we see him drag his body all the way to the grave, which he dug out, saying, "Bury me here." He buries him, and then he sees his daughter's rucksack, saying Katie. I'm pretty sure it's his daughter's anyway. I am not too sure, but it must be. And then he buries that with him, and basically this is where Morgan just goes on a fucking, you know, just goes full out, just starts killing zombies left, right, and fucking center. You know, I was smiling at this bit because, you know, we never get to see a badass Morgan like this, and we finally did, which is great. This is definitely the most important part in the episode. This is where Morgan goes up to Carol's house and says, "You really want to know about what happened that night," or whatever. I'm not too sure what they said, but there's something along those lines. And she says yes, and basically he just comes out with it straight away saying they killed Glenn and Abraham. Then she's like, "What? No, they didn't know." And they did, obviously, didn't they? And she finally comes to grips with it. You know, she don't really know what to say, because she's just shocked more than anything. Obviously she's upset. Morgan walks off because he's so angry. And then one of the last shots that we get is just Carol walking to Ezekiel, and then she basically sees Ezekiel and she tells him that they need to go to war. Ezekiel agrees with it, which is, I did not expect that. Ezekiel agrees to go to war, which I found really interesting, and I was smiling. You know, that was that was just fucking great for me. Like, personally, he's just out there, you know, digging plants, and then she just comes up to him. She's like, "We need to go to war," you know, and he's like, "Yes, we do." And then that sealed the episode for me. And obviously she is living there now. I think she is anyway. She's going to live in the kingdom, which is, you know, is bound to happen anyway. People are saying that her and Ezekiel are going to start a relationship. Maybe, maybe not. People are saying Morgan and Carol as well. I'm not too sure though. But then the last shot we get is just Morgan, you know, sharpening his stick, sat on Carol's porch. He just looks back and he just appreciates the quiet, I think. Just the quietness of the area. And he just goes back to it, and obviously that's where the episode ends. So me personally, I think that was the best episode from the kingdom. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't say the best episode of the season. Maybe in the top 3. But not the best episode. I think the best episode was probably... I'm not too sure actually what my favourite episode was, because it's hard to pick on such a good show like The Walking Dead. Alright guys, but I hope you enjoyed that. I thought that episode was amazing. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Tell me if I did this well, because this is my first time ever doing something like this. Hope I did it well. I guess I did, but thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave a like. If you're new around here, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.